episode 7. We are so excited. We have special guests for you guys today. I'm Milka.
Hey, I'm Robin.
I'm Latuanis.
And our special guests are trainers. So we're going to let them introduce themselves. We have a basketball trainer and a football trainer. Go, guys.
How you doing, Lamar, Mickey?
How you guys doing? I'm Britton, Kelley, affectionately known as Coach BK.
All right. Well, we're excited to have you guys.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This is our second guest appearance. So we're really excited about having guests. It's fun for us to be able to interview people, but we're not going to interview. We're going to let them share with you guys their expertise and what it takes to become a high-level elite athlete. So what we want you guys to tell us now is what you're an expert or a trainer in, and what you teach and your experience. Talk about your experience and how long you've been doing in that.
Okay, well, I've been playing football my whole life. Played at Banning High School. Ended up playing at Weber State University. Been coaching football for 25 years now at the youth level and high school level. Started off at coaching DBs at Gardena High School back in the day. Took a break off and went to school to get my master's and my doctorate degree, and then got back into coaching football out here in the Inland Empire. I've coached at Chino Hills High School, Etowanda High School, Ayala High School, Fontana High School, and now I'm back being a DB coach or a corners coach at Ayala High School. My experience was a good experience. I'm from LA. Lost my mom to cancer when I was young, around 11 years old. She wouldn't let me play tackle football, and once he passed away, I asked my dad if I could play, and he let me play, and it was the best decision that I've ever had, because some of the anger and frustration and rage of losing my mom, I could take it out on the football field instead of banging in the streets. And so I've been doing this for a while, and I enjoy it. It's the release that I have. I'm a social worker by trade, and going in and working with young men is something I enjoy doing. And it's been a blessing to coach and train my own son, and I currently train on Saturdays. My organization is called Ballz Elite. We train on Saturdays at Orchard Park, and the main goal is to develop these young men to be prepared for high school, and the high school students be prepared for college.
Shameless plug. Ballz Elite. Y'all want some good training? Come on out on Saturday. Okay, BK, what about you?
Okay, well, I'm originally from Washington, D.C. area. Grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, where I went to high school and played youth sports. I played collegiately, I played professionally. I ended up getting injured back in 2013, where I started a career in sales for a while. I worked at Enterprise for about 5 years, and then I jumped into training shortly after my oldest son was diagnosed with autism. So my 5-year-old son, once he was diagnosed with autism, I kind of, just needed to take a step back from the hustle and bustle of corporate America, and I had to just, fulfill myself through my passion, which is really just motivating and uplifting people. And the game of basketball has always been a constant in my life. So regardless of what I was going through, any adversity, it's always been basketball for me. I played all sports growing up, but basketball was the one that, paid for my education and things of that nature. So I used that outlet to somewhat heal myself and somewhat, I guess you could say, counsel myself by just pouring into other people's kids. So I started my journey roughly about 6 years ago now. And I've been able to, touch a lot of lives, a lot of families, and just invest in different kids' futures. I train the Curry's daughters. I train the sniper. Chance. So I've been blessed to train some of the better kids in the Inland Empire community over the last several years. London Jones, just to name a few. And the thing for me is, I found a passion in seeing these kids make their dreams become a reality.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that to see the drive, like I could talk about Jada Curry every day, but Jada is one of the most locked in people I've ever worked with, and she was so motivated to be great, And sometimes I would come into the gym, down, and I would think, my son is about to turn 6, he's still nonverbal. It's things that I could just leave my household and kind of be down in a somber space. And I could go to the gym, and Jada's determination, her work ethic, her grind would just kind of give me a different outlook.
Yeah.
It would uplift me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And me and her always joke and stuff. So just to kind of touch on some of the athletes I worked on, but training has really just been me finding my purpose, to be 1,000% honest. And this past year, I was blessed to finally get my call up to the NBA. So I did the NBA pre-draft this year.
Nice.
So
That's excellent.
It's growing.
I
So,
love it.
yeah, so. And my
Well,
company, not to cut you off since we
Yeah.
played.
You get the plug too. Let's go.
Absolutely, it's better on you basketball.
Come on now.
So
Better
it's-
on you
it's-
basketball. You need some basketball training?
It's all about
Yeah.
Okay,
balance.
your man.
Yeah.
So that's given us some good insight about who you are and why you do what you do. So all of our kids are D1 athletes. That's why we created this podcast, just to talk about our journey. So we want to know from you, what does it take to train, not as a trainer, but as an athlete, to become a D1 athlete?
Give us details.
Yeah,
we want to know.
What separates
We want to know a
the-
day in your training.
And what separate the D1s from
The average athlete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I think it all starts with the mentality.
Absolutely.
Some kids are born with the mentality. Some kids, I believe, can develop the mentality. For me, the kids that I've trained, a lot of them have the mentality, and they want to learn and have a drive to learn and find out what it takes to become a D1 athlete. And so I tell them, I said, I was a D1 athlete, but I learned from so many other people and so many other coaches,
Technicians and
the techniques, the type of training that has to go into becoming a D1 athlete. And I think as parents coaching youth football, sometimes they think their kids have it, but then they don't know what levels you have to go to, and it's levels to it. And so, starting out in Eastville, when I coach kids and train kids, I developed kind of a bad relationship or reputation, because they would say, Coach Mickey's too hard. Coach Mickey's too hard.
Lamar,
Mick, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing this type of stuff. You can't be going off on the kids. You can't be, and I'm like, this is the expectation, And
I
these
have
are
a
the
question,
yeah.
Lamar, because you mentioned something, and you said that there's levels to this.
Right.
And sometimes parents don't understand that.
Right.
And so how do you address the parents when,
Well-
is that something that you share with them going into it? This is how I'm going to be because this is the expectation. Or do you weed out, well, this guy has it, this kid doesn't have it? How do you deal with
Robin, that's a good question, but I would want to know first, what are the levels you're talking about?
So for me, I think developing the mentality first and getting them to understand that it takes a certain work ethic to get to the next level. It also takes understanding that you just don't have it already, that it has to be developed.
yeah.
And so we're talking about developing your speed, developing your coordination, developing your explosion, developing your IQ for whatever sport you play,
Yeah.
film work, surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want the same opportunity that you have, because there's a lot of kids that may surround themselves with great football players, but academically they surround themselves with dudes that don't care.
Absolutely.
And so when you surround yourself with kids that don't care about their grades, then you start to let your grades fall a little bit, or start to not study for your tests, or be prepared for your assignments that the teachers, assign you. So those are the levels of understanding that the training comes, the football IQ, the work ethic, understanding academics come first. And that's where, when you talk about trying to develop the kids and get them to understand that this is what it takes, you have to bring the parents along as well. And so what always been true to me is that I keep it 100 with my parents. I build those relationships. There's a saying that the kids won't do much until they find out how much you truly love them, So I try to be transparent with my kids. I talk leadership and life skills with them. help them to understand that, you know, it's just not about football with me. It's about developing a real man and preparing them for real life situations. So in my training, we after training, I asked them to give 10-15 minutes to me. So we'll talk about leadership and life skills. I'll share good stories and terrible stories of kids not taking care of their grades and missing out on scholarship opportunities. In addition to that, I will talk to them about establishing a relationship with God. I even pray for my kids. We hold hands and pray. Just letting them know that there's a holistic perspective towards becoming a true athlete and reaching your goals as an athlete.
Now you talked about, you know, talking to the moms and teaching them what is expected. I, as your wife, when you were teaching or coaching youth football, there were some moms that were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Girl, this is football. Like, you cannot ask your kid if he's okay in the middle of football training." And so I was able to help some of the moms. I understand how you feel. I was the same way. Like, "Oh my God, oh, he's too hard," like in the beginning. But then I started to see Jaden develop and just become stronger and mentally stronger, and he just was like determined. You mentioned being locked in. When they lock in, you know who those kids are, and it's usually one out of a whole bunch that's like that locked in. So you were able to see the kids that were locked in, and then what I liked about you is that you didn't just focus on the kid that was locked in. He used that kid as a benchmark to go against the other kids, to teach them what it means to go against a tough opponent. Because you can't get better if you're just facing people that are just as good as you or less than you, right? But if you're facing a tough opponent, that makes you stronger. That makes you see like, oh, I am not the best. Okay, so I have to dig in a little deeper. So you guys talk a little bit about how you challenge your athletes when you're training them. What is your best approach to challenging them, and what would you tell an athlete to do to challenge himself when he's not with a trainer?
Yeah,
Real quick for me, I just want to say this. There's so many trainers and coaches out there that like to have the 4 and 5 star people, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, and they create their legacy off of 4 or 5 star guys. I don't like that. Give me the 2 and 3 star or no star kids, and then I can show you the development from where they started to where they are now. That's where I take my pride in. So in my training, I'm probably one of very few. I don't charge. I take donations, and my goal is, this is my God's work, and this is what I do to try to take those who don't have the stars, don't have the clout, don't have all the love, and try to create monsters basically, that sooner or later you're gonna want to offer them, you're gonna want to give them the 3 stars, the 4 stars, the 5 stars, because that's what it's about to me. I don't really need to train the 4 or 5 stars, because they got it. They got the love, they got where they going, they can always enhance it, but give me no stars and let's see if we can create some stars. And I'm not even into the star stuff, but I know that's kind of how it works right now in this day and age.
What you got to do?
Yeah, what have you seen in the basketball world?
Well, it's really just to piggyback on Coach Lamar. It's a culture.
Yeah.
You know, the kid embodies a culture that is next level. So for me, to kind of answer the last question you had, I like to try to make my athletes become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because whether it's corporate America or whether it's on the playing fields or the basketball courts, well, that's how the most successful people operate. You know, they're able to be calm and collective and be able to think and perform in chaotic scenarios, and when they're being stretched and pushed to the limit. Jada is one of my favorites, so I always go back to Jada. But Jada made the Pac-12 this year with a torn label.
Man, we know.
You get what I'm saying? So people wonder.
That's
like,
that locked in mentality.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So people always say like, man, you always reference Jada. I'm like, I do, because her mental, like we would go through a 2-3 hour session, and if she didn't work out as good as she wanted to, she would call her mom like, "Mom, can you come pick up late? Because I want to stay and keep working."
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Because she
That's
just had a different level of like,
That's it.
I'm so thirsty to be great, and those type of things. Like I said, it's a culture, because you have other kids, and I was one as an athlete where I was just talented, flat out talented. And I tell people sometimes genetics plays a part, but if you don't embody the culture of a Division I or a high level athlete from the classroom to the way you take care of your body, to the way you prepare,
The
to the
discipline.
way you recover, to everything, then you kind of playing with your future. So.
Right. Right. You
I
take
have
it
a
for granted if
question.
you're just talented. Yeah.
Have either of you ever had to tell a parent that the kid didn't have it?
I got one right now.
Have you told them?
Yeah. So I have an 8-year-old. I mean, not an 8th grader. I'm sorry, an 8th grader who's going
Sure you don't want to give
going
too
to
much
9th grade.
details,
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna say too much. But he's going to 9th grade, and his mom's investing all this money, and she's like, "Oh, everybody brags about you. You're one of the best trainers." I said, "I'm not Jesus."
Right.
I said, "So just let me be
Don't
honest
perform
with you." I
miracles.
said, "He's going into high school, and his clock is already ticking."
Yeah.
So I said, the development that he needs, I was like, we may be able to make varsity by senior year.
Yeah.
But I was like, don't be surprised if he gets cut from freshman this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where sometimes parents are unrealistic. And it just comes back to, once again, the culture. Because if you have a family that at least is, even if you don't have athletes in the background, if they're open to trusting the coaches, trusting the trainers, saying, look, I've done my research and, I'm going to take my pride out of the way and let you have my baby in a different capacity of their growth. Like, I take care of the books and the religion at home, and I'm very holistic, like Coach said. Like, I do a lot of praying and a lot of spiritual growth with my athletes. My company, Bet On You, is really affirmation in itself, just telling everybody to bet on themselves.
Yeah.
So I send like Jada and London and all the different athletes I train, I send them different little Bible verses or different little motivational videos all the time, just on a random Tuesday, Wednesday. But I think that when you tie it all in together, it's the culture. And I'll go back to when Twanda's asked me about the levels and everything, where she asked us both. Chance on the other hand, right? Chance, her son, is one of the most talented kids I ever trained, and he's been slept on. People sleep on Chance. People kind of hate on him a little bit. Not hate on him because they know he's good, but it's like, you hear the people chirping like, "Oh, he ain't did this, he ain't did that." But Chance is focused.
Yeah.
When you see it and you know it, you know it. And I tell everybody, I say, man, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. I said, man, he's becoming a grown man.
Right.
And when I tell you 2 years from now, out of all the kids that's been named before him, he'll be one of those ones. The Bible say the first will be last and the
That's
last
right.
will be
I love
first.
that one. I
That's
love
why
that.
he's a sniper.
So exactly, because he has
Too late.
You
You don't see him.
Exactly.
So I have a question because and we're going to talk about, because you train your own son, Jada, which is a different dynamic.
Right.
But you've trained Chance and Jada, and then you also trained Layla. And she's, I've seen you, but I want you to speak to it more. If you have an athlete that you feel like you need to tap in because maybe their style is a little more unorthodox, or there's some things that they need to develop. What does that look like to you as a trainer?
For me, it's really just about really letting the athlete know what they're strong at and trying to enhance that, because when you get to a collegiate level and professional level, like, everybody has a role.
Positions,
right? A position, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, she mentioned Layla. Like, Layla has an athletic skill set and a strength that her sister doesn't have. Her sister is super skilled, but Layla can almost dunk. Like, Layla's ridiculously athletic, right? And she's super strong, right? So when I first started working with her, and I'm pretty sure she dealt with this just being her little sister growing up, right? Like, it was one of those things where it's like, you don't have to do what Jay does.
Right.
Like, let Jay do what she do.
Yeah.
If you are great at these two things, college is gonna get paid for it.
Yeah.
You'll have a chance to get paid, to paid to play the game.
Yeah.
So it's just about me highlighting the athlete's strengths, and then we'll work on some of those weaknesses. But but there's people that are in the NBA and the NFL to do one job and one job only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're great at one thing, and you're just decent or strong in the other areas, you have a great chance of being successful. So for a younger athlete, it's just getting them to buy into that. And that's why I mentioned Chance. Chance probably can shoot just as good as Steph Curry almost. And y'all can quote me on that.
Say that. That's a
Y'all can quote me on that.
That's affirmation.
So Chance has a different level And,
Yeah.
and his dad and I talk about it all the time. We call it his superpower.
Yeah.
So we were like, wait till he gets to college and they put this athleticism on him,
Yeah.
and his body starts chopping up,
Yeah.
and he gets quicker and stronger, and it's now what you gonna do?
Next level.
It's different. So
Next level.
They
Well,
gonna
tell
follow
us,
that.
tell us how you do that, and give us a run through of like training someone through that experience. What do you do with them? Or not too many details, but just tell us what it looks like, so that these kids that think that they're getting enough work in, they really aren't. How do you develop that player that you see he's good at this, and he wants to play running back, but you see something else in him?
So for me, I don't try to tell a kid that you can't accomplish nothing, because we have different levels in football. So you have Division One with the Modern Days and Boscos and stuff like that, Corona Centennial. And then you have some lower levels, 14, 15. So the level of play is really different. So there's an opportunity for you, if you love football, to find a place that you can fit in and play football and be around a culture. That's the best thing about sports, is you can get around culture, learn what teamwork is, hard work, dedication, accountability, things like that. So for me, I try to be transparent with them. Just the other day, I talked to a kid that told me that he has a dream to go to UCLA or Stanford, and probably has the grades because he's a smart kid. But the first question I asked is, how fast are you in the 40? And he said 4.7, 4.8. I said, you're not going to Stanford or UCLA. That's being transparent, but it's not stopping you from your dreams. And I said, you can go and Google speeds of wide receivers that want to go D1. And the lowest time you're going to see is 4.6. But you really need to be 4.4, 4.5. And so
So you didn't really tell him he couldn't go.
Right.
You told him he couldn't go with that speed.
Not
Right,
right now.
right.
So-
Not right now, baby.
Right. Not at that speed.
Right. So then I said, I got a track coach that I can hook you up with. And I said, let's be realistic. You're probably in a year, you're not going to get the 4.4, 4.5. But you can take that 4.8 with good work and discipline. You can get it down maybe to a 4.65, 4.67, somewhere around there. And now you open your doors opportunity for D1 double A's. And so, in addition to that, you open yourself up to Division II and Division III. And that's what I try to tell young people, like, it's D1 or bust. And it's not D1 or bust, especially to your family, to your parents. It's obtaining that education, and if you can get it for free, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
So, I'm reach out to this young man and reach out to a coach, and he's willing to put in the work, but at the same time, I'm just as excited for a kid to get a Division III scholarship as I am for a kid to get a Division II
Wow.
or